Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sake.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Like go? Start the podcast? Is that what you're saying? Just go?
Like go, Michael.
Okay. All right. She says go, we go. Hello to one and all, and welcome to another episode of Your Dark Companion. We're glad to have you with us, no matter where, when, or even how you may be receiving this podcast transmission. We're just glad you're watching it. I would be Mike Rhyner. We are on the road today. As you can tell, we're not in our usual little tiny hovel, the nurturing biosphere of the mothership, as we like to call it. Instead, we are out today. We are at Globe Life Field. And we're going to talk a little bit today about baseball uniforms because City Connect Day is coming up around here. When the Rangers wear their City Connect uniforms, they give us a program on that every year. The Rangers have never been too lackadaisical about getting with the whole throwback or City Connect program or whatever baseball might be doing. They just jump right in there and give it the program. And today with us on my immediate left, your immediate right, we got a couple guys who have designed not only this year's City Connects, but as I understand it, quite several years past as well.
Yeah.
They are Travis Dillon and Scott Biggers. Now, who's who here?
Travis. I'm Travis.
Travis over there. He's wearing the red Tejas. Tejas for Travis. And this is Scott.
Yep.
All right. Good to have you guys with us. We appreciate you doing this.
Pleasure. Yeah, of course.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you guys do.
Travis Dillon, Senior Vice President of Marketing for the Rangers. Grew up here in the DFW area, so it's been fun to kind of take this journey over the last, this is my 8th season with the Rangers. Prior to that, spent, 2 decades plus in the agency world, so working on brands like AT&T, Pepsi, Taco Bell, and that's how I know this guy. So we work together. We've been together for close to 20 years, including our time at the Rangers working together. So we both have that agency brand history together and came over. I came over at the end of the 18 season, and by spring of 2019, had convinced him to join me.
So you guys are both Rangers employees. I was thinking that maybe they contracted all that out to agency guys, but no. They bring it all in-house, huh?
Yeah, we do it all.
Excellent. And for how long now?
This will be our 8th season together here at the Rangers. So 2019 was our first season together.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty good run there.
It's been an extraordinary few years.
Yeah.
Lots happened.
Very eventful.
So tell us a little bit about how the whole City Connect thing got started. Let me just add this first. It seems to me like it's kind of an offshoot, an extension from the throwback thing. Teams started wearing throwback uniforms. And I can't remember which baseball throwback uniform I saw first, but I just loved it because I was watching a game some night and some team was wearing a uniform from the 60s. I thought, man, this is cool. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it got started there, and where it is today is just kind of an extension of that. Is that anywhere near accurate?
Yeah, I mean, we've chosen to go in a somewhat of a throwback direction. Some other teams have gone kind of more futuristic and I would say a little bit more left of center.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of City Connect is connecting with that younger fan base, that some of them appreciate that retro and throwback look, but it's really that combination, that intersection of community, culture, and baseball. And so the idea is to tell these stories and create designs that may resonate with that youth, the younger generation of baseball fans and future fans. The way that we and some other teams have approached it is kind of taking maybe a kind of a spin forward of a retro look.
Yeah.
And so we've always loved that, dating back to 2020 when we redesigned our core uniforms. We brought the powder blues back with the piping, but put Rangers in a kind of a modernized script across the chest instead of the old block Texas. We put that same script on the whites, brought the piping back across all our jerseys. And so we kind of took that approach from one of the first projects we took on here was, how do we, give our respect to the past, tip our cap to the past, but, move towards the future with the organization as we were heading towards our 50th anniversary and all these other things that were coming up. And so we've taken that same approach into City Connect as well. So while it's meant to connect with the youth, we've wanted to try to find something that we thought all of our fans would identify with.
Yeah, and it's a Nike partnership with MLB.
Yeah.
And it started, in 21?
Yeah.
I think. So, yeah, there was a bit of a throwback element to it. And, we think fondly back to, our 50th anniversary in 2022, where we wore the original 72s a few times during that season, which was glorious.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I didn't like those uniforms back then, but I loved them at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've aged well.
Yeah, they have. So with the City Connect thing, you tried to design a uniform that connects with the city in some way, as it were. When you first sat down and started thinking about that, what was the first idea that came to your minds? I mean, were you guys doing this together, or was okay?
Yeah,
when you first started riffing on it, where'd you go?
Well, it starts with Nike starts with a questionnaire of key people at the organization, and they do this for every team. And so they ask about the relationship with the community and the city, and how you define the brand, et cetera. Send the answers back, and Nike's designers come back with some designs. So we answered the questions as a group, submitted them, and what we got back, and in defense of the guys in Portland, Oregon, it's hard to design for a team in Texas.
Yeah, sure.
And so we worked with them and just said, let us take a crack at the story. One of the challenges, as you well know, is we don't wear the name of a city on our chest.
Right.
We wear the name of the largest state in MLB. And, there's 1,200 plus cities in the state, so how do we tackle that? So that ended up being just one of our big challenges. And it's how we got to our solution. We just flipped the nomenclature and looked at what we do. Like if you think about how a ballpark attracts people from all over the place, and, in Texas, we connect cities.
Yeah.
So that became our story, because the origin story, as you know, it's Dallas and Fort Worth coming together through baseball in Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
And so we loved that story. But yeah, it took us a little bit to get there, in part because it's like, how do we tell the state story? We want to be faithful to the nomenclature and the spirit of City Connect, which is how do you connect with the city?
Did you talk to anybody on the outside about this, or was this kept all inside and you guys just riffed on it until you came up with something, or what was the process like?
There is we refer to it as the burden of secrecy. So these, as you know, with a lot of uniform drops and reveals, it's a big event. And so the fewer people that know about it, the better, just for the secrecy or the reveal and the surprise in the moment. So it was a fairly small group internally that worked on it. And we would talk in spirit with some of our colleagues across the league. At the time, I think the Braves were designing theirs, and so we would talk to them just how the process is going without revealing, this is what we're doing. So we found some support there, but internally there were stakeholders that we would work with and that were super helpful in getting us to that first design.
Yeah, it's an internal process, and it's a 2.5 year plus journey from when we start to when they reveal. So it's crazy to think that this December, January timeframe, we'll start the process on the next one, which just I can't even get my head around, and I'm not going to get my head around it yet because I'm enjoying this one and its journey right now. But you have to start the process so early that keeping it tight is critical.
Yeah.
But as we've gone through the process, on both of these, as we got into the storytelling, we did expand that circle externally. On the first one, talking with Parker Vandergriff and the Vandergriff family and some other folks that were critical to that story, just making sure that we were being faithful to exactly how the events had played out. And then on this second one, we had some internal and external folks within the community that we felt it was really important to get their input on telling the story appropriately.
This is a pretty big thing all across baseball. Just about every team except one does this, right?
Well, two.
Oh, there are two?
Yeah, and I mean, the A's are just a matter of circumstance. Once they land in Vegas, they're going to do one. They just haven't had a city to connect with in a few years. So
I guess to do City Connect, you got to have a city.
You got to have a city. So they've sat out just by circumstance, but they're going to, I think it may be their first year in Vegas, I would expect, but as soon as they land in Vegas, they will.
Now, I hate to ask you to get into the mind of somebody else, but do you ever see a time where the Yankees might go along with something like this?
It's an interesting question. Yeah.
I kind of do. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I would have said no a few years ago. I think that
you think maybe they're warming up to the idea?
I think it would be a massive opportunity for them. And I think what we've seen this year, when you've read the articles and seen that the players have actually gone to the organization asking if they can wear the navy blue road jerseys that they typically just wear during spring training. So I feel like if it happens, it might come from the clubhouse, that they want to do some more dynamic things. But before that, I don't know if I would have given it much of a chance. Yeah.
Now, for the City Connect scene this year, you're telling a Texas story as it's being labeled and being branded.
Yeah.
How did you guys arrive about that, and what is this going to mean exactly? Because when you start talking about Texas, there are a ton of stories out there.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. So what's this going to look like, in this situation?
You want to tack on it?
Sure. There were a couple things. One, we knew we wanted to bring back red as a uniform color, which the first City Connect nudged that out of our uniform lineup. So we wanted to bring red back. And then two, we wanted to tell that story about Tejas. And the approach we took, our brief, if you will, was to reimagine tradition. And so we looked at past tradition, or the kind of the elements from past Rangers uniforms, defined that as our uniform tradition. So it's the hat from the block tee from the 70s and the lettering from the 80s, the reds from the 90s, and that's and then also recognizing the influence of Mexican culture on the state whose name we proudly wear.
Yes.
So it was really those elements coming together, and then at that point it's like, great, how do we tell that story? And I think that's what we really enjoy about this whole process, is thinking of the uniform as a whole, as a storytelling device.
Yeah.
And to us, it's just a really fun and interesting opportunity to do that. So anyway, we'll wear these for 3 years. And as Travis said, before the year's out, we'll start scheming on what City Connect 2029 looks like. But yeah,
So you're working that far in advance now, huh?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the first one was the same way, and a lot of it comes into supply chain and samples and getting things ready and production. It's mainly that timeline is driven from the production side of things, from Fanatics to Nike and MLB. But yeah, it is a long journey. So this April, when we finally get to show the world, you feel like you've been sitting on a present you've been ready to give somebody for so long that you're just so eager to do it. It kind of feels like, Christmas Eve for about a month when you're just ready and, trying to, hope it doesn't leak out.
How far back is it when you guys started working on these?
Yeah, it was. So we debuted in 23, the first one. So it was like late 23, early 24 that we had our first call with Nike about these. So yeah, it was wild.
yeah, we met with them at spring training in 2024 just to kind of go through the idea, and it was approved by, I think, September of 2024.
Yeah.
And ever since then, you guys have been sitting on this. It's like, don't tell anybody, or
Can't tell anybody, and that's when you.
That's exciting because I was involved in something like that once too.
Yeah, I know. And that's the, you have the story, and you have enough of the story to design the uniform. But what's nice about the rest of that time, especially on the two that we've done, where the story, the first one was kind of a complex story and so many elements and pieces to it. And then this one had its own complexities just because it's so culturally important that we wanted to make sure that we did justice in how we told this story. And so it gave us the time. That's where we brought in some artists and content creators and community leaders and folks within the community, the Mexican and Hispanic community in DFW, and internally some of the peers that we have as well, and sat down and worked with them on what is the right way to tell the story. This is a celebration. It's not an appropriation. It is a celebration of this massively important and big chunk of our community, right? It's close to 40% of our community is Hispanic, and the majority of those are of Mexican descent, right? And our fan base mirrors that. And we've been on this journey for, over 50 years with that community. And over the last several, since we've been here, we've been very intentional as a brand to continue to really lean in. And we felt like this was the right time. The next step for that journey was to celebrate on the uniform. And so that's where, when we were meeting with this external, this council that we were calling it, that's where the Texas story came. It wasn't one of us. It was in that group. And one of the folks on the council said, guys, this is not a Mexico story or a Mexican culture story. This is a Texas story. And I get chills even remembering that moment where we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. And then in that same conversation is where, another person in that council said, it doesn't matter if you say it with an X or a J, it's the same place, and we all call it home. Like Texas, Tejas, it's all the same. And we're sitting here in this moment, and it was like it validated the entire reason that we got a diverse group, diverse meaning internal and external group, to talk through this, because I don't know if we ever would have gotten there, just our group sitting around trying to work through a story. We would have gotten to a great story.
Yeah.
But those aha moments that came out of expanding our circle is something that I'm like, I can't even put into words how grateful I am. And these folks giving up their time to make sure that this story was as authentic as possible was really special.
So they're really getting with the program quickly, huh?
Yeah. It was really, it just, I don't know, the way it came about was just so organic and authentic. And I feel like that's come through in the jerseys and the story we were able to tell.
You mentioned red a minute ago. The Rangers, seemingly in recent years, have been a little bit reluctant or not real open to emphasizing red. I mean, they did go with red a few years ago.
Yeah.
With almost no blue whatsoever. And to this day, Those are my favorite Rangers uniforms ever. But they went back to working in blues, and now here we are. So be it. When you guys said you wanted to emphasize red a little bit more, were they cool with that?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we heard from fans, from even players. Yeah, and there was just a desire to go back to red. It's interesting. We, in '84 and '85, we had the red with the Rangers script, which is beautiful, and then we brought the reds back in '94.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about was, particularly given this is the 30th anniversary this year of our first postseason win in 1996, we were wearing the Reds. And then right after we relaunched the Reds in 2009, we went to the World Series for a couple of years, 2010, 2011. So there was, part of the storyline was, man, red's the color of winning. And so we were excited about that, but just broadly, the idea of bringing red back was embraced internally.
Yeah, and to be very transparent, there was never a movement to get rid of the Reds. So part of the City Connect program with MLB is that every team had to go to what they call a 4+1. So you had to narrow down to 4 core jerseys and 1 City Connect. So when we added the City Connect, red was kind of just the odd one out. And some of that comes down to, obviously, we're going to wear white at home. The powder blues was going to be something we wear at home. And so when you think about going on the road, we had the royal blues, which everyone loves, and the grays. And at the time, getting rid of a gray was not an option. Like, MLB required everyone to have a gray road uniform.
Right.
And so it was really a tough decision of like red or the powder blues and what do we do, or the royal blues. And some of it came down to talking with our clubhouse crew, and if we bring reds on the road, then that's a whole nother however many sets of boxes and crates they have to bring, and does the plane fit it? And so it got into all of these things where we said, okay, well, red seems like the odd one out for now. And we looked at each other and said, look, if there's a lot of love and a lot of, if we're all missing the reds in 3 years, we have the option through our next City Connect to fix that. And I think we didn't get far into the 23 season. We were all looking at each other. We were missing the reds and kind of Red Fridays and just kind of that communal feeling in the ballpark that, in the front office, everyone would come in on Fridays wearing red before 23. And so I think we knew, to Scott's point, that whatever we did in 26, it was going to be red.
Yeah, I know I'm probably speaking just from the standpoint of a fan, but those were good days. Those were really good days. In fact, those were the first best days that we had with the red. And so, I don't know, I'm probably just being a fanboy there, so don't mind me.
We felt the same thing. I mean, I grew up in DFW rooting for this team. Scott's been here in Texas since college. You've officially spent more time in Texas than California now.
That's true.
So
That's
you're
right,
a Texan.
Legit.
So we did the same thing, and it was a really tough decision. And we pushed back on the league trying to keep 5+1, and it was just a hard line they were taking with just they had to narrow things in, and it's just the way they chose to do business. But we knew we wanted to bring that red back, and we love that we brought it back, but we brought it back. Reimagined it, and we brought it back in a different way with the cochineal red, which has a very significant role in the history of this state and Mexico, and just how regal and royal and important that color is. The fact that we could bring the red back, but have the red actually be a part of the cultural story as well, and not just bringing red back. So that part for us was special, that we were able to find that angle to what red we chose that served that cultural story as well.
And for those who are fans of the block tee, the block tee will be a part of this too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's there. It's on the hat.
All right, there it is, right there. Can't get more block tee than that.
Yeah.
And this too is an example of, it's kind of like the cochineal red. We wanted to bring back the block tee and then to think about how we reimagine that. we look at it through the significance of the Mexican textiles and the craftsmanship associated with that, and just the long history of the use of textiles and natural fibers, dating back thousands of years. And so, that's why this is in the form of the raised weave. So it's a bit of a nod to, that craftsmanship and artisanship.
Yeah, and the cream, right? That natural color, honors that same time period before there were bleaches and dyes, that was white, before we had bleach and dyes. And so that led to the natural color pants, which again became part of the story and honored the cochineal in that era, but also we know cream pants in baseball are great. And so bringing those cream pants into the mix from a baseball perspective was just felt really good. And the fact that we also had a story that tied back into, the color that tied back into our story was just the icing on top.
Now, you mentioned a little while ago that bringing the Mexican culture and some of the things that embody the Mexican culture is very important to you.
Yeah.
And there are several ways in which you're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about a few of those.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back really 2022 when we made the commitment to forming the Mariachi de los Texas Rangers. So we were the first team in baseball to have our dedicated, I think in pro sports, but I know baseball, to have a dedicated team mariachi band. So we decided we made that decision in 2022. That same season, we started a post-game concert series that's one Saturday a month called Viva Tejas. That's over at Texas Live and has become, just a staple of our post-game celebrations, whether you're of Hispanic or Mexican descent, or if you just like great music. We've had just incredible turnouts there. And then, in 23, when the All-Star game was here, we were very intentional that the All-Star logo, and we really pushed this with MLB, represented not only Texas, but Mexican artistry influences. So there were paisleys and the paisley patterns, and the colors and the All-Star logo really honored both Texas and Mexican artistry. And then in that same year, in 24, we relaunched our Los Rangers social platform. And it went from, the league was running it for years, and it was basically a Spanish translation of what our English social channels are. And we relaunched it and rebranded it into something that is really a celebration of that intersection of culture and sport. And so all of these things that we've been doing are just kind of steps in this journey together. And we felt like when we got to the point of really deciding what we were going to do with this jersey, that we felt like this was just the next natural step in that journey together. And as you know, I mean, the uniform is a sacred place, and what you decide a story you decide to tell on a uniform is got to be significant and important. And we felt like this was the time to do that together with the community, that we had created this really reciprocal and authentic relationship together, and that this just felt like the right time to bring that to life through the jersey.
As you look at uniforms around baseball, who's getting it right these days?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I love what we're big fans of the guys in Atlanta and the Braves and what they've done just in general. Their marketing team are some of our closest friends. I think their two City Connects are two of my favorite over the time that MLB has done it, because they've taken a similar path as we have. It's kind of a retro, modernized kind of retro spin on there. So I've really appreciated what they've done in that space. I don't know. We've talked about this. Who are the ones that stand out for you?
Yeah, there's, and of course, every time, and this year was different, where all teams rolled out their City Connect on the same day. And so we had all, was it 7? We had all 7 spread out, and we're just like, oh, which ones do we gravitate towards or not? Yeah. I would say the Brewers have done a really nice job of selling fun. And so both of their City Connects, their 1.0 and 2.0, do a nice job of just kind of celebrating the region and a kind of a playfulness. The first one I think had a barbecue grill on the sleeve. Yeah. So it just recognized kind of this culture in Wisconsin. I haven't spent much time there at all, but I'll take their word for it. But it's a really fun celebration of the region. And then broadly, I'm a sucker for kind of the old classics of the uniforms like Cubs and original Red Sox. But
I love what the Cubs did, with their launch last year, kind of celebrating the blues, Chicago blues, and they brought kind of a powder blue look. And I'll tell you to me, the best kind of across the board refresh that I've seen since I've been in baseball is what the Twins did a few years ago. Like their jerseys, what they did, it felt like every one of them could have been a City Connect. And then they still, on top of that, have done a City Connect that worked for them. I don't know, because I just felt like the Twins uniforms had kind of a retro. They were anchored in something kind of retro. So that I was, not that I had low expectations when I heard they were kind of rebranding their uniforms, but I was so pleasantly surprised that they got it so right. Yeah, they just really hit on all of them.
Now, isn't that what you guys are trying to do, though? Anchor this in the Mexican culture and Rangers history and those other things that come together like that? Sounds like exactly what you guys are about.
It is, and I think that's maybe why I like it, because it's rooted in a lot of the philosophies that we have. And that's the thing when this first came out and there were leaked photos, which is always sucks because you're not getting to tell your story yet. You're not getting a good photo. It's of a jersey hanging in a back storeroom that someone took on their phone, and it's just doesn't like.
Just for the record, I've not seen any of these. So.
Yeah, this is when it this is close to 3 weeks before we debuted when that came out. But some of non-Rangers fans, some of the conversation around it was like, oh, it just looks basic, like they didn't really get it creative, and our fans, when we rolled it out, recognized this was rooted in that block lettering of the 80s, that Nolan and Pudge era, that every time we've talked to fans on social or through different brand health studies, and we've talked about past uniforms or past styles, like that gray, 80s gray with the blue Texas is always near or at the top of people's rankings.
Really?
And so I think just the nostalgia and the connection to Nolan and that era and Pudge and kind of everything that a lot of the OGs grew up with, that, and then there's the new generation that kind of likes that retro feel, that like our fans completely understand why we went with that lettering versus doing something a little bit. And we looked at scripts and all sorts of different ways to say Tejas. I mean, we explored a lot of different things and just kept getting drawn back to like anchoring this into something that felt like it was honoring a part of our history as well.
So as you look to, work in Mexican culture and everything like that, how did you arrive at some of the things that some of the places you wound up? Did you consult with anybody, or how'd that come together?
Yeah, like Travis said, we had a council that was super helpful to us. If we go back to, when we decided we want to do red, we want to tell a Tejas story, there's a finite number of elements on the uniform that you can use. And so it's the sleeve patch and the piping and the jock tag and, all these different things. And so then it just becomes, all right, what's the story we want to tell? And we leaned into, again, the block tee and some of the design from our mariachi uniforms, the trajes. Mm-hmm. And, that comes from the Charro, so the Mexican horsemen. And so to look at those uniforms, you see sort of this interlocking tee, which we used on our sleeve. So we loved kind of how that felt cultural, but in reality, it's the block tee, interlocking. And so we loved how that looked both on the pipe, like on the sleeve and the leg piping. So it becomes a way, and like Travis said, this story of the cochineal, we knew we wanted to do red. Well, how do we make that relevant through how is it relevant to the Mexican culture? And, we learned about the cochineal red and the importance there. And again, going back to, 2nd century BC, where this tiny cactus-dwelling insect yielded this rich, vibrant red dye, and that went into the textile making, ended up being a huge export in Mexico's. And so the red coats, in British, the capes of the clergy in Rome, it's that royal red. So we were really intrigued just from, again, the joy of telling a story and realizing the significance of cool, this red isn't just any red, there's a significance to it. So really it's looking at all the elements through that lens. And so the papel picado, for example, on the sleeve, is just a symbol of, it's tissue paper that's cut artistically. It's a long-standing tradition. It's celebration and joy, and a lot of it is celebration and joy. That's kind of what we're about.
Viva Tejas, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So Viva Tejas is on the jock tag. And that paired really well with, as Travis said, this event that we've had for years. And plus just the sentiment of it, this rally cry of Viva Tejas. So it was just,
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. And to Travis's point also with the leak, we were robbed of telling that story. And so you get a lot of knee-jerk reactions of a poor photo, and you can't see some of the detail. And in this uniform, there's a ton of detail on the fill that's inspired, that's Charro inspired. And one of the elements too is the belt, which is this embossed leather, and it's a beautiful belt that actually is inspired by the vaquero, which
here it is.
Yeah,
Funny.
which is significant in both Texas and Mexico ranching. So, yeah, these are different than the ones I wore when I was 11 in Little League.
I should say so.
But anyway,
Wow, that's nice.
so there's just a ton of detail, fit and finish, if you will, into the uniform that helps to tell that story.
Yeah, and that, that really honors not only the Charro culture, but the vaquero culture, the Mexican cowboy, and the impact that they've had on, ranching and horsemanship and just kind of overall cowboy culture in Texas and in Mexico. And it's I always love hearing anybody, especially Scott, talk through the uniform, because it literally is this roadmap of our journey with this community over the last several years, with Viva Tejas and the patterns that, live in the trajes of our mariachis. You've got some of the secondary marks that we had also were originally designed as part of those trajes as well. And you see all of these, they're like breadcrumbs of these different stops on this journey together that we're able to come together in this uniform in just such a special way.
Pretty amazing stuff you guys have done here.
I appreciate that. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a really fun opportunity just to be able to tell a story with the uniform.
Do you think these uniforms are going to be worked into any kind of rotation, or is this just going to be a one-time thing, or how's this going to play out?
Wear them Friday home games from, probably, I don't know, 27, 28, but certainly this year.
Yeah.
Wear 'em on Fridays. And then there's a couple of special wears, Mexican Heritage Day, I think, so a couple of Saturday wears as well. But they are designed this year we're wearing them just at home. And we'll, ideally be bringing back Red Friday, so we have red outs in the park, and to Travis's point, kind of get that fun, vibrant energy in the building.
To answer your question from a long-term perspective, it's a great question, and I think we went into the first one with the same perspective that we're going to see how our fans embrace how, what the sentiment is around these uniforms. We're not required to change them out after 3 years. We could run these back. We could make slight alterations if we wanted to. or we could go with something completely different. So I think while we'll start working on designs later this year, early next year, that'll be kind of exploring what our other options are. But I don't know if our fans, if this becomes, something that they love, then we have to consider how they become a permanent part. And that'd be a great problem to have, to be honest.
That would be a great problem to have.
Yeah.
And you know how, like, with the first City Connect, when we released them, because it was really a kind of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Like really different.
Yeah, it was. It was a look that we've never seen the Rangers have before.
Right, yeah. And by the end of the 3-year cycle, so while the first, few weeks were, the people had opinions, but by the end of the third year, we saw all kinds of messages on social media about, like, you can't take these away.
Yeah.
And so
get used to it.
Right, yeah, exactly. And embrace it and understand kind of why we made the choices we did in terms of, we chose that typeface for that reason and that symbol. And so it's just part of, like, once fans understand the kind of the story behind it, like they will embrace it.
Well, here's one fan you never have to worry about. I always like it when teams roll out new uniforms, no matter what the circumstance is.
Yeah.
Something like this, or just something they bring back, or maybe something they want to debut and look forward to.
Yeah. Well, that's been, for me, if I could go back and, my son's 10, I think about if I went back to my 10-year-old self and told him that he was going to be designing uniforms for his local baseball team when he's older, I would have said I was crazy, right? And that's been one of the beautiful things about this job that we've been able to do together is bringing some of those elements back, designing uniforms. When we built this ballpark, the storytelling in this ballpark, I remember when we were going through the ballpark process, I literally said to Scott, I said, this is the ballpark my kids are going to grow up knowing. Like, it's my responsibility for that generation, for them to know our history through this ballpark and how we do it. And these City Connects become this additional canvas, if you will, for us to continue to tell our story and bring that to life. And so, I don't know, every one of these is a pinch me moment because it is fun, and you get to color outside the lines a little bit, because it's a 3-year run, and then you can choose to re-rack it or whatever you're going to do, but it allows you to take some chances and see what resonates. So that part's the most fun, is because you're able to kind of do some things maybe you wouldn't typically get to.
Yeah, and the whole City Connect initiative is focused on getting a younger fan into baseball.
Yeah.
And so to see young kids wearing, the old Peagle and TX or the current, City Connect T is awesome, and it brings both of us great joy, just because that becomes, this isn't my dad's uniform, this is my uniform.
Yeah.
So
who do you think's getting the uniform thing right in the game right now?
I mean, there's, what's interesting is, especially when you look at City Connect, is so much of the City Connect, and I appreciate this from our perspective, is I don't necessarily expect people outside of Texas to understand our uniform choice or choices, when we're telling our story. Mm-hmm. And I look at that from the outside too, because there's been some that you see and you may not really get it, and then you look at the fan base and how excited they are about it, right? And then you say, well, this wasn't for me. I'm a Texas Rangers fan in Texas. I don't live in whatever other city, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think that so much of that, I think, is so unique to that fan base and what resonates with them. I'll tell you, out of the first City Connects, one that I love just because of how bold they were. One was Boston with the yellows. I never thought in a million years that I would see them do that, and so I respected that they did that. But what San Diego did, and I just, again, having a 10-year-old son who absolutely loves that mint green hat, and luckily we live in South Lake, so the SD, it looks like a South Lake Dragons logo. And so he's got one of those, and he's like, "No, Dad, this is South Lake. That's why I got it." I'm like, "It's okay, buddy. They're National League. We can, we can let that go." But seeing how what they did, and you go to San Diego, I've been there a couple times, since they launched City Connect. I mean, those hats are everywhere, and those jerseys are everywhere. So they did a really great job of hitting on both style and culture that their entire community embraced.
Might you say that they've gotten it more right than anybody else?
They've done a really good job. I mean, their sales, they've done from a retail perspective, they've done extremely well.
Yeah.
It's a smart group over there. So yeah, they've done a really nice job.
Who else is good?
Well, I'll give a shout out to the first City Connect of the Marlins,
Yeah,
which
Sugar Kings.
Yeah, which tied again. It was sort of an approach we took where it dug deep into regional baseball to tell the story, and with their vibrant Cuban community, is a story of the Cuban baseball, the Sugar Kings, and like fascinating, and from a throwback standpoint, beautiful. Like loved everything about both the uniform and the way they rolled it out and told the story.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. And one of our favorites of the first round was the South Side, the White Sox, what they did just with South Side, just because it was so on brand for them. We had heard some teams were either going to or strongly considering not changing and just rolling forward. And that was my my prediction, is that they weren't going to change that because they were just such a hit and they were so on point. And what they did with the second ones made sense with kind of the tie-in to the Bulls and their ownership group and everything else. And then the Bulls, and their city editions kind of did a similar nod. And so you could see this was kind of a bit of a choreographed effort. But yeah, their first one I just loved because it was just they didn't over-design it, and it just felt like it was just so dead on to what their brand and kind of that South Side of Chicago represents.
All right, so the plan is to roll out these when?
Well, we're playing in them currently, so we wore them last Friday. That was our second wear. So I don't know, 9 more wears this season.
Yeah. Yeah, they debuted on the 9th of April. We wore them the first time on the 24th, and then they'll be every Friday this season. And then we'll have 2 Saturdays. So we've got our Mexican Heritage Weekend in June when we play the Padres. So we'll wear them that Friday and Saturday. And then Mexican Heritage Weekend in the middle of September, where we'll wear them both Friday and Saturday. But other than that, it's Friday nights. We're bringing Red Fridays back. And it's just been really cool seeing the front office and then the ballpark. Each of these Fridays, you've seen more and more red. Whether it's people bringing the old, like if you want to come out and wear the old Texas Reds that we wore from 2009 through 19, man, just rock it. Whatever red, we just love seeing that ballpark in all red. And to see how much our fans have already adopted this one, to me is special. But yeah, just having that communal feeling of Red Fridays back for us has been really fun to see.
Boy, I can't tell you how on board with that I would be. If they want to bring back the red, that is okay with me, man.
Who do you think's doing the uniform game right?
Brewers. I think the Brewers do a pretty nice job with it.
Yeah.
I don't like the Padres' colors, but as far as doing the best they possibly can with what they have to work with, I think they do a pretty nice job.
I did like when they brought the brown and yellow back, as much as from a color palette perspective. But it's who they are, and so I love that they went back to that and their fans have absolutely loved it.
The San Francisco Giants a few years ago started going back to one of their old looks, and that's a really classic look. Yeah. I really like it.
Yeah.
As much as I hate them, I got to give it to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's another classic look. And again, as much as I hate them, you got to give it to the Yankees because they know what they are. They stay with what they are.
Yeah.
And what they are is what they are, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, that's all that they are. It's all they've ever been.
Yeah.
That's all they want to be. So I respect that. The Tigers as well with the Old English D.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yep.
I love that they brought the orange back this year.
Yeah, they did.
You know, that was I forgot to mention them earlier. Just the decisions they made with their, you know, the two kind of refreshes they did this year, I thought were spot on.
Well, Travis Dillon and Scott Biggers, I cannot thank you boys enough for joining us here on Little YDC today.
Well, this has been an honor for us, man.
Yep.
We've been fans of yours for decades. So the fact that what we're doing is on your radar for me, and I know you personally, is extremely flattering. So I appreciate you having us on.
I appreciate
sure.
the heck out of that and appreciate the heck out of you guys, man. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing it right. In fact, this whole organization is doing a lot of things right these days.
Thank you.
Appreciate
That's
that.
great to see. All right, thank you for watching Little YDC today. Now, don't forget, we would love it if you'd put us out there on your social media because that is what gets us around. That's what enables us to make this thing grow. You do that for us, we'll do it for you. What am I reminding them about tomorrow? What are we doing?
Grant Halliburton, Eric Nadel.
Oh, yes, tomorrow, Eric Nadel's birthday, benefiting the Grant Halliburton Foundation. That'll be at the Longhorn Ballroom. I'm sure tickets are still available. It's going to be a heck of a fun night. What?
And we are giving away 3 tickets.
Oh, we're giving away 3 tickets?
Yeah, go to our social media and comment happy birthday, and we'll maybe throw you some tickets.
All right, so I guess that was on the podcast, right? Or am I supposed to say all that?
Well, it is on the podcast now because I said it, but
Okay. That's what I wanted.
but I did do talk back to you a minute ago.
Yeah. See, I can never tell what's talk back and what's not.
That's okay. I try not to disrupt you too much.
You're
That was
wonderful.
good.
I'm not
The first-
groups.
Yeah, you're wonderful.
Oh,
First
thanks.
time you came in my ear, I was like, wait, that wasn't one of our voices. So it did catch me off guard.
All right, thank you, boys. Really appreciate it. And to all of you out there, see you at the Eric Nadel birthday bash at the Longhorn tomorrow night. Bye.
All right. I'm going to go take my pants off. Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.